Mesechta bava basra daf lamed zayin amud aleph. We're starting from lamed vav amud beis. I said 23. 20. Amud Rabbi Yishmael. Bamed varim amurim. Should be here. You see it? Amud Rabbi Yishmael. In the Mishnah we said, Rabbi Yishmael said, Bamed varim amurim. When were these words said that you need 18 months? You need the last 3 months of to make a chazak of 3 years. Rabbi Yishmael said, in order to make a chazakah for 3 years, all you need is the last 3 months of the first year, the 12 months of the middle year, and the first 3 months of the third year. That makes the 3 years of chazakah. But by Bezdei Lavan, that's only by Bezdei Lavan, by a tfu of wheat. Aber by Bezdei Ilan, Zak the Mishnah, it can be much faster. You have 3 cuttings. You have one time the season of cutting the grapes, the cutting of the olives, and the dates, the datelin, and that's it. That will make the chazakah. That's what we said. And the Chachamim say no. The Chachamim say that you need 3 full years, and even by Ilanis. So, Zakti Yimar Am Abaye mid Rabbi Yishmael Nishmal Rabbanam, from the words of Rabbi Yishmael, we can learn out a nafkamina also with again to the Chachamim, that when did the Chachamim argue with Rabbi Yishmael that that it has to be full 3 years? So he says that that's only benegay to Zdei Ilan, right? But he says, but what's if hayu loy shloishim ilanes mimata asara lebeis saw? He had 30 ilanes, but it was sitting on 3 different saw. Every saw had 10 ilanes. Okay? Im haya besada shloishim ilanes. I'm going to read the Rashbam. If in the field there was 30 ilanes that were planted kishir shalasada ilanes l'shetach beisah, the amount that we evaluated how many fields go per saw? How many trees? 10. And if he had 30, so he had 30 trees. It was sitting on 3 different saw. 10 and 10. He says, Achal Asara, if the Machzik ate the paytas of 10 alones b'shana zu in this year, Ba'asara, and then another 10 he ate b'shana zu in the second year, Ba'asara, and then he ate from the paydays of the other 10, the shlishis, b'shana zu in the third year. Harei zu chazaka for the whole sada. Are you going to tell me he only ate from 10 sadis, said 10 ilanis out of the 30 ilanis? So how could it be a chazaka for the whole 3 saw? He only ate 10 ilanis. He says it is a chazaka. And he says, Lav mi amav. So Abaye, he says, how do we learn this from the Hira of Rabbi Yishmael? That Lav mi amar Rabbi Yishmael chat peidach have chazaka lekula peidach. Rabbi Yishmael said that 1 min, if you do the cutting of 1 min, it's already 1 year, considered as a 1 year chazaka. L'mashal, the cutting of the grapes, that's one year. You cut the dates, it's considered another year. You cut the olives, is another year. He says, "Mais chazaka b'min echad shapri meil lekfiz chazaka b'chol min ha'peidah." Even though there are many different peidays, just by cutting the grapes, made the first year chazaka, even for the olives, even for the dates. You only cut the grapes, it's still considered a 1 year chazaka, even though even in the same year. And when you cut the olives, it helps for even though you're not cutting the grapes in the same time, it's considered as a second year. And you cut the dates, even though you're not cutting the grapes and the olives, nevertheless it's considered as a third year. Achinami, so too here by the Sada, when he cuts 10 trees, you don't have to cut all 3 at the same time. He takes off paytas from 10 trees. It's considered 10 from this year, and then 10 the second year, 10 the third year. It's considered.
In other words, 3 harvests at the paytas is enough. In other words, if you do 1 year, and one time you do the grapes, one time you do the ainim, one time you do
Even though it's a field that has te'enim and tzmarim, and you're only cutting, you're harvesting only let's say the grapes, it still helps that it should be a chazaka for the first year for the te'enim and for the zaysim. Even though you're only cutting the anavim. Ma'ila lekitas kol min ve'oinasei pam achas lekvoyer cheskes b'chol asada. Even though you're not cutting the zaysim. Yeah, but he wants to bring out. He wants to bring out. He cut only 10 trees. He didn't involve the whole field. And you said it's still a chazak. The first year counts for all of it, for all 30 fields, for all 30 trees. The lashon means that even though you're only cutting which one, you're cutting the grapes, right? It's considered as the first year chazaka for the olives and for the dates as well, even though you're not cutting them. Al derech zeh, he's saying when it comes to the trees, even though he's cutting only 10 trees out of the 30, it's considered as if he has a first year chazaka for all 30 trees. Hachanami, so too here, by the soda that has 30 ilanes, and he wants to make a chazaka just to eating 10 of the ilanes. Hani have a chazaka lahani, v'hani have a chazaka lahani. Every year he chooses a different 10 trees. The first year that he used 10 trees out of the 30 trees, those 10 trees that he ate from is as if he made a first year chazaka on all 30 trees. Next year, if he's from the different 10 trees, it's same thing. It's the second year, even though he's not eating from all 30 trees. And the third year, the same. But honey, Mili, when were these words said? So he's limiting. Only if it's such trees that there's only 10 trees that have fruits on them that is ready to be cut. But if there were more trees than 10 trees, that time when he's cutting, if there were more than the 10 trees to cut, let's say there were 20 and he only cut 10 out of it, no, that's not a chazaka for the other 10 that had also paid us. You're going to have to cut all of them.
All the 20.
All the 20. There's no such thing. It means that only 10 were ready to be cut. If there were more than 10 trees that gave off fruits and you only ate from the 10 and not from the other 10, then lo yahavi chazaka. It's not going to be a chazaka for those 10 that gave off fruits that year and you didn't eat from it. It means that there was only 10 trees ready to give off fruits, and that's how it became a chazaka for the other 20 trees. But if there were more than 10 trees that gave off fruits and ready to be eaten, then that's not going to be a chazaka if you only ate out of 10 of them. You have to eat the other 10 also. That, yeah, but it's not a chazaka for the whole field. So the Gemara, huh? No, I sell it, sell it, it means make business, yeah. It's like somebody is Shmuel Isaac. My father is them. Du machst Geld. Says, nein, für machen Geld geht man in jail. Ich mache business. Ich mache business. Okay, sagt die Gemara. Who the vazi bazuzi. Another limit he gives is that it has to be the 10 trees cannot be only in one shetach of the karka. It has to be spread out. It has to be such a min that he says, no, Yeshua, there's such dates that it grows in its season. It doesn't all grow in the same time. Some grow some become ripe one time, some become ripe at different times. Such dates.
On the same tree.
So he says, but those trees have to be spread out throughout the 3 saw where the 30 trees are, in order that it should be a chazaka. So we have 2 limitations. Number 1. It has to be only those 10 trees that gave off fruits. If there were more, he was supposed to eat from those. He's supposed to utilize those. And the second limit is that the 10 trees that he's cutting for one season, or he's doing a cut of those 10 trees, has to be spread out over the 3 saw. So the Gemara brings another halacha, a person who had karka, and in the karka there was ilanes, and he sold the karka to one person, and he sold the ilanes to another person. Zeh herzik ba ilanes, v'zeh herzik b'karka. He says the one who he sold the karka, he gets the karka, and the one that he sold the ilanes to only gets the trees. He wants. Yeah, that's not the issue. The issue here is we learned in the Gemara before, when you sell a minimum of 3 trees or more, he automatically gets the kaka around it to be able to work on the kaka, weed it out, that the tree should grow better. you give him automatically together with the karka around the trees if he sells 3 trees. If it's 2 or not, but 3, yes. So over here he sold him 3 trees, but nevertheless, since he sold another person a karka, he only gets the trees, and he doesn't get the karka.
So how can the trees grow there?
Oh, one second. Aber Avzvid, Zeh Koni Ilonis, the one that bought the Ilonis only bought the Ilonis, not the chelik of the karka that goes around with it, where normally if you sell 3 trees, he gets the karka around it. The Zeh Koni karka, and the one that bought the karka bought all of the karka, even the place of the Ilonis. Even though the guy who bought the, and when we say even the place of the Ilonis, it means to say, that not that he could send him out while the Ilonis is still being yoinik from the karka, because he sold them live Ilonis that are living. But if the tree were to die, officially he could tell him, take your tree out of here. It's the karka is mine. He sold you the tree, a live tree. Once it's dead, the karka is not yours. So Maskiv Lada Papa. Papa is the kasha in Cain, aim loy lebal ilonis bakarka klum. According to Avzvid, he doesn't have the bal ilonis hot nishkin shaychas to the karka whatsoever. Lei malei balakarka lebal ilonis. Let the balakarka say to the bal ilonis. And of course, we're talking about when the tree is dried up, not when the tree is still living. Arka ilonach shkel vizil. He says, uproot your tree, it's taken away from my karka, the karka is mine, your tree is dead, and get out of here, take it all out. And he shouldn't be able to replace it with a new tree. According to our papa, it's not mistaba that a person should sell his friend. When our papa asked this question, he says it's not reasonable to say when a person sells ilanes, he shouldn't include the karka that comes with the ilanes. That's what the Papa was arguing. Because Avzvid said that when he sells karka and he sells ilani, he's out. He gets the tree itself. As long as the tree is alive, fine. But once the tree dries up, he can send them away and tell them to take it away. But the Papa said it doesn't make sense. He doesn't hold of that. Here he brings down from the Rashbam, Afa Pisha Lefir Avzvid Kachu Adin Be'emes. Even though according to Avzvid, yeah, he could tell him, take out your tree if it's dried up. Papa Sava, Sava, Shaidim Establish, Shemechi Ilan, Shalzade Ilan. Yiskavan HaMeichel, Meichel Be'efet, Shemeyach, Lishiyavshe, Yitztar HaKoyre, Le'okrim, Le'yishal, Le'klum. He says, no. The Hashbam says that doesn't make, that Papa is arguing. He says it doesn't make sense that he sold him the tree without having the right to the karka over that tree. And he says that Hashbam emphasizes that you can't be mefarish that the kavanah of our papa was to taina that the sheyuchel lekeich hakaka lesalakes hailanis meyad, that he should have to remove the tree right away. That's for sure not. Ki mevekam mekaymes begimana mefarish apel lekeich ilan shalei kani mei karka mikoma kem niknu leischus yinikes hailan bekarka kolz man shailan chai. That's what I told you lechatchila in the Gemara. If the ilan is alive, even Avzvid, who says that you can uproot it, he said you can't tell him to take it off. Even though there's a daya that says even then he could tell him take out your tree. Avzvid would also hold that you could take out your tree. So Elam our Papa. So our Papa says, what does it mean? Zeh kone ilon, zeh kone kaka. Our Papa says, zeh the buyer kone ilonis v'chatzi karka. The one that bought the ilanis, yes, he was kind of the ilanis and half the karka. But that kind of chatzi karka, and the one that bought the karka was kind of half the karka. Now, there's many pirushim here. One pirush is, it doesn't mean mamish chatzi, that the one who bought the tree gets half of all the land. It means whatever is needed around the tree, that just like you were kind of mamish the karka, what you got is everlasting. Me too, when I bought the tree, I got it with the land to be able to work around it, that it should be everlasting, and I can replace the tree. That's one of the Peshatim. We'll learn it that way. Zak the Gemara. What does this have to do with Chazaka? So, that's, now you're right, we started off with Chazaka, that the Chazaka is Right, but here he brought, since we, he's saying that now once the Gemara brought about Karka and Ilane, so he wanted to bring you additional dinim. So we started off Sadeh Ilan about how do you make a chazaka. Once he started to speak about Sadeh Ilan with Karka, so what does he have in the Ilan? Does he have it with the Karka or just the Ilan? So the Gemara Pshita, and itself understood that if Mochar Karka v'shiyah ilones lefanav, if the seller sold the karka and he said befedish he's only selling the karka, not the trees that are in it. That he's the trees he's leaving for himself. Yes, like karka, he automatically has the karka which is needed for the ilones, because we say when he sold it, he made sure to sell, but to leave for himself for the Ilones Karka to be able to work around it.
The trees should grow good.
So, yeah, right. He wants, of course. So he's telling us, even if here he says this idea that we just said, this is that he says it's on. We'll learn later on Ayin Aleph. Usually, when is a person kind of the kaka with the ilanes? Only if it's 3 and more. But here we're talking about that. That even if he left, in this case, when he sold the property, his own property, and left ilanes for himself, then we say he's kind of the kaka, even if it's going to be 2 ilanes. He says, even though when somebody buys 2 ilanis, he doesn't get the kaka around, but only if he buys 3. But somebody who's leaving for himself ilanis, we know for sure he's making sure to keep the kaka with it. And he says this, everybody agrees that Rabbi Akiva holds that when a person sells, he sells with a good eye. Han immediately, when was this words? When did he say these words? Gabe ber vadus, by a bird that doesn't live off the ground and it's made for storage. Loy machashu be'ara. It doesn't weaken the karka. It doesn't take any chayes to live. It's a bird. So there, Rabbi Akiva says that the Moicha never intended that to keep kaka around the bird. The guy owns the kaka up to the breg from the bird, till the rim of the bird he owns. So gam kaka misav ledav shenishtaylei ki kivan shaloi yazika bird v'hadus l'shimish halekeh b'kakoi. He's not. He says there's no reason for him to have kaka around the bird, because the kaka around the bird, or the bird is not doing any harm to the kaka. The kaka is not doing any harm to the bird. He doesn't need the kaka around the bird. Aval ilanes, but by ilanes that he left from himself, by a bird, you say if he sold the kaka, he sold it till the rim of the bird, because the bird is not using the. He doesn't need the kaka around. He's not. Yeah, and he doesn't need the kaka for the bird. But if he left himself ilanes, he does need. He needs the kaka for it. The kamachashi be'ara, because it weakens the ground, and the roots has to go into the ground, and it holds back the macharisha. So he has to akade. He has to take out the roots. He needs to be able to work around the ilanes in order that the ilanes should grow up. It should grow good. Huh? That's when he leaves it for himself. His kaka he sold. But when he said, I'm leaving trees for myself, he obviously left the kaka. He's not going to want his trees to go bad. He for sure left the kaka for the trees in order to be able to plow around the trees, in order that the trees should grow, and weed out the bad weeds from around the trees, in order the trees should grow well. Zog the Gemara, Shayure Shaya. The Meicha for sure left himself for the kaka around the ilanis. Even according to Rabbi Akiva, who says a Meicha sells ba'ayin yofa, But when does he sell it ba'ayin yafa? When he doesn't need the karka around it, like a bird. But when he's selling his karka and he's leaving ilanis for himself, he for sure had in mind to keep the karka around the ilanis. So here you see the kol ha'neisen ba'ayin yafa neisen, ha'meicha dav zayin ba'ayin yafa. We know with Chadakov, he was told to give a raise to the Kol Jungelite. We were getting 180, and somebody says that the Rebbe said you should give her a raise. So he raised $1. so somebody came up from the Kol Jungelite said, "Why'd you give so much? Why'd you raise $1?" He says, "Kol ha'neisen b'ayin yafa neisen." He says, so he says over here, the Eloi Shaya, if he wouldn't leave from the karka anything, lay malay, so let the balakaka say when the tree dries up, akoyilana vizil. Let the one who he sold the karka to be able to tell him, take your elam, uproot it, get it out of here. And the meicha should be able to replace it with another tree. Surely we know that that's not what the meicha meant. When he sold the karka and he says, I'm leaving the ilanis for myself, the Fedish wanted these trees forever, not to give it away. So even Rabbi Akiva, he says, would agree to this. So even Rabbi Akiva, who says that you sell b'ayin yafa, that you sell all the karka, not by ilanis, when he leaves the ilanis for himself. So what's if he sold ilanis and the shia karka lefanov, and he left karka for himself? So here's the reverse. You understand? He wrote, the Meicha said to Leikeach ben Ferish, he's selling him the ilanes, but the karka he's holding back for himself. So here, so now, what is that? So plukta Rabbi Akiva Rabbana, it's a machlekes of Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. If the Leikeach bought the karka of the makmi ilanes, so when it dries up, so he should be able to replace it or not. So he says this is totally namachlekes. When somebody sold a house or a field and he left a bird, so we said there that when if he sells karka, if he sells a ba'ayin yafa, so the karka belongs to him up to the rim of the bird. And there's no part of the field that he has around the karka. And if he needs a path to get to the bird, he's going to have to pay for it. Or we say he sells it ba'ayin ra, and it's shayich, like the Chachamim say, or he didn't sell it so gracefully, and when he sold the bird, he sold it with that he should have, that it should remain for him a path to be able to go to the bird. The bird is a mitten sada. If he sold, the owner of the sada sold the karka, but he left the bird for himself. Does he have a right that when he left the bird for himself, did he leave also a path with it to be able to go to it? So the Chacham say absolutely. Rabbi Akiva says no. When he sold the karka, he sold the ba'ayin yafa, that the guy can use the field all the way. And if he'll need a path, he's going to have to pay for it, according to Rabbi Akiva. But Chacham say no. Says the Gemara, in this case where he sold the trees, right? He sold the trees and left the karka for himself. So here we fall into the machlekes. When he sold the trees, did he sell it ba'ayin yafa, or we say no? So the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva the Amar.
Places both say that he's talking about only 2 trees. If the 3 trees is zikr, he gave him karka.
Right, but we said before that the Rashbam brought down. I read before that by the Mikah that the Meicha left for himself trees, then it's even less than 3 trees. If the Meicha left for himself the trees, sold the karka and left for himself the trees, then he gets the karka even if it's going to be less than 3 trees. Okay? Zog Gemara, Rabbi Akiva the Omar, according to Rabbi Akiva, who says, that one who sells with a good eye. So Islay, he holds that the Lekeach, the buyer of the Ilanes, right? The buyer of the trees has the karka around the Elon. So he says, what did he sell him? We said he sold the Ilanes. So and according to Rabbi Akiva, when somebody sells something, he sells it graciously with a good eye. So the one he also gave him with a piece of karka. He sold him with the eye and yafa. He sold the trees. He obviously sold him with the eye and yafa with the karka of the tree, in order that he should be able to weed the tree, plow around the tree, and when it dries up, he should be able to replace and put another tree there. But Rabbanan, according to the Chachamim, that say it's the derech of people not to be so gracious when they sell, less lay. The lekeach doesn't have the right of the property around the tree. Okay? So now the Gemara, says here, we can even read, that where somebody sells ilones of his karka and he left karka for himself, there we learned it's a machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. So we want to say it's not the same machlekes as Rav Zvid and Rav Papa in the previous case. What was the machlekes by Rav Zvid and Rav Papa? That he sold one person karka and he sold one person the ilones. So Rav Zvid said the one who bought the ilones has the one who bought the ilones, the one who bought the karka has all the karka. The one who bought the ilones only has the ilones. It dries up. He has to move. Rav Papa says no. He sold them with the karka around. So l'cheira, this case, when the guy sold his own ilones, should we say it's the same machlekes? Rav Papa, because here we learned the machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan, the same machlekes. Rabbi Akiva says he sold it graciously. The tree he gets with the karka around it. It sounds like Rav Papa from the previous machlekes. And the Rabbanan who say no, a person doesn't sell so graciously. He doesn't get the karka around the tree. Will hold like Rav Zvid. Says the Gemara no. The Rabbi Akiva Islay, because according to Rabbi Akiva says it's the derech of a person to sell by ayin yafa, and he says when a person buys trees, right? He gets the place around it. La'afilu l'Rav Zvid, the Omar, even according to Rav Zvid, who says the one who sells the ilonis only gets the ilonis, and ein loy, he doesn't get the karka of the ilonis. Hani mili, when did he say that the person doesn't get the karka of the ilonis? Is only gabe shnei lekuchis when you have two buyers. Rav Zvid was talking about there were two buyers. Rabbi Akiva was talking about the guy who owns the field. There was only one buyer. He sold the ilonis. It's not the same. The first case was the seller sold everything he's got. He sold the karka to this guy, sold the ilonis to another person. Rabbi Akiva is talking about, no,
The owner himself.
the owner himself only sold ilonis. So in such a case, there's a difference, he says. When did Rav Zvid say that the guy who has the ilonis has no karka around the ilonis? Gabe shnei lekuchis. By two buyers, he says to him, Leslie be ilonis. Just like I don't have any shares in your tree. He sold the trees were sold to you. You have no shares in my karka. That's what he can say. But over here, in the case where he didn't sell him, he kept the whole karka for himself. So even according to Rav Zvid, it says when a person sells, he sells with a good eye, and therefore he says he left for sure karka. Even Rav Zvid will agree when he sells karka to one person and ilonis to another, that even Rabbi Akiva, who says you sell graciously, but he sells, each one got it graciously. Even though Rabbi Akiva says that when a person sells, he sells it ba'ayin yafa, so he sold the karka ba'ayin yafa and he sold the ilonis ba'ayin yafa, but karka ba'ayin yafa means that the guy from the ilonis has no chelik in the karka.
So what's the ayin yafa then?
That's the Ayin Yafa for the one that bought the karka.
What about for the guy that bought the trees?
The tree, the Ayin Yafa, he knew he's got it. He got the tree. That's all he's got. I'm selling you the karka. I'm selling you the Ayin Yafa. Each one has that taina. So that's what he says. L'chein dibir Rav Zvi be'inya macha karka la'acha be'ilanis la'acha yechol la'ama af lefshitz Rabbi Akiva, that you can even say Rav Zvi even according to Rabbi Akiva. And he brings down here the Hainu ein hachlem shedibir Rav Zvi tlui machlokes tanoim elahim is kind of bein lefi Chachamim or bein lefi Rabbi Akiva. He can come out either way. He says afal pisha lefi Rabbi Akiva b'derech klal kol adam meicha be'ayin yafa b'meicha karka la'echad or ve'ilanis la'acher lo yitochen limke be'ayin yafa ki ayin yafa l'lekecha echad imamela ayin ra l'lekecha achad she'im yikna ma'akarka l'lekecha ilanis harei u'emayit mema shemakna l'lekecha karka. So he says it's
That's
different.
Rabbi Akiva, huh?
Rabbi Akiva says you normally sell
So
Ayin Yafa.
You
So
said
if
you
it was
sell
my
two
property and I left the tree for you, I sold it to you with Ayin Yafa with the karka around it. But if it's two, I sold everything out. That it's then we don't say Ayin Yafa because whatever is Ayin Yafa to one is Ayin Ra to the other. So it's not the same.
Even Rabbi Akiva, L'moida.
Even Rabbi Akiva would be Maida that over there that he doesn't get any karka around the tree. Correct. L'Rabbanan, and according to the Chachamim that say it's a derech of a person to sell be'ayin ra, he says Leslie, ein loy l'lekeich ha'ilana shum karka. The lekeich doesn't have any karka. Af loy makan ha'ilanas l'ntoyach ha'imukay. He doesn't get even to replace the tree if it dries up in its place. Va'afila l'rapapa, the Oma, even according to Rapapa, who said when he sold the Ilanis to one person and the karka to another person,
That he has,
yes, he says that the lekeach of the Ilanis does get a chelik in the karka. Hani mili, when were these words said? That gabi shnei lekuches, only by two lekuches, when he sells one the karka, one the Ilanis, the Amalei, because in this oven the lekeach Ilanis could say to the lekeach of the karka, tehechi l'didach zambayim yafa, just like that the Meicha sold you the Ayin Yafa, the Karka, he sold it to you forever, right? L'didi nami zavim b'Ayin Yafa. So too, he sold me the Ilanis that I should be able to have the payers forever.
What does Rabbi Akiva say?
Rabbi Akiva is a different machlokes. One second, let's talk about Rabbanan. Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva were talking about a case where the owner kept something.
Look,
Let's say,
if you sell to one person,
he says be'ayin ra, he sells it. If I'm keeping the field for myself and I'm selling the tree, you're not getting any karka of the tree. If the tree dries up, you're not getting, your tree is gone. If it dries up, it's gone.
Akiva doesn't hold.
But that's but Rabbi Akiva says Hameicha, he sells what if the owner sells it to one lekeach, the tree, he does get the karka because he sells it by Yafa. You can't say that machlekes is the same machlekes of Rav Zvi, where it's talking about that he sold to two different people. He sold the karka to one and the trees to another. He says either one is it's. Let's start off with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says you sell by Yafa, he's supposed to get the karka around it. Here he'll say he doesn't get the karka around it. Because what's Ayin Yafa to one is Ayin Ra to the other. And according to Rabbanan who say that by the case where the Meicha kept the karka for himself, he says he sells it by Ayin Ra. He never got the karka. Over here he'll say he does get the karka around the Ilanis. Because why? He says just like he sold to you by Ayin Yafa, that you should get the land forever, the guy who bought the tree, he sold to the guy the tree, that he should get the land forever. But over here, but here the Rabbanan will say, where he only sold him the tree, and he never sold the karka to anybody else, so it's going to be by, they said, Achlon Retzufim. If the Machzik ate in the karka, when the trees were, usually you need to have 4 hammers around the tree, but he put in so many trees together, so we say, Ein lei chazaka, there's no chazaka in the karka. Why? because it looks like he's just nursing the trees. He wants to steal. He wants to rake it in. He plants a tree. He wants to grow a little bit, and then take it out and sell it. He's selling trees. He's not interested. He's interested in making a hit and run to try to get as much money as he could. So then it's not a chazaka. Masculine of only now. Hi, Mesha das pasta. My kanala. By Mesha das pasta, it's all together. So here the Rashbam says really, it's not a kasha because by aspasta, that's how it is. It's a derech to be done that way.
And that's the way it grows, no?
That's the way he grows, and he cuts. Here, I'll bring down what he says. No, I'm sorry. Harashbam meyesh ba'em saying zu kusha sham na'adoi. To ask me for maspasta. Ki lo yamen na'adoi shachilus etzuf ein kevas chazaka ala kasha ein derech. Bali asodis lishnamish bekaka yisayim. It's not the derech. They usually leave 4 amas around the tree. Here, he planted trees one next to each other. So we know he didn't do it like the derech, and it looks like he was just trying to rake it in. Ve'ilu b'min kegoyin aspasa kivin shederech bali asodis lizorei b'tzvifus. L'cheira yoidu nahador shachilas meziyah tzvufa toil l'kvaya chazaka. There it should help a chazaka. So the Rashbam explains, Machlekusi shodava al nahadoi mikoich svara. Shalafi shikol daite af achilas minitis tzvufis ma'ila l'chazaka hoyo v'seif oichla marsi mipez ha'karka. He says, you're right. It is the derech for aspasta. It's not the derech for the trees. But b'peil mamish, he was asking, he's eating there for 3 years. I don't care what he's doing. He did it this way, he did it that way, but he's there the whole time eating. It should be a chazaka, just like aspasta. He's not asking.
No, he's not asking on aspasta itself. He's just saying.
He's not. He's saying just like aspasta is okay if he eats it over 3 years. He's bringing out, even though he's not asking from aspasta, it's not the derech. Aspasta is the derech, but from eating 3 years, aspasta is not a normal food. You cut it, and you cut it. Sometimes you cut it before it grows fully. If it's a place like we said, they have a lot of cattle. That's what they used to do. He says, but you still say it's a chazaka because he's eating here also. When he's nursing a whole bunch of trees and he's utilizing the karka the whole time, it should be chazaka.
Somewhere else. It should all be the same.
Yeah.
As long as it's 3 years.
As long as it's 3 years. El Amar Rava says, Mechoran etzufin. He says, if he sold the ilanis that were cramped up so much, ein loy karka. He doesn't get the karka with them. He's not telling you b'negei to chazaka. He's just telling you that he doesn't get the karka around it.
Oh, but
it will be a zaka. Afal pi shebistam echnis ilanis im hoya shleisha yoisa. You give him the 4 amas around each tree, right? So l'chayda he should be kind of the 4 amas around each tree. Gam as akarka netzachs lahem kedumad mimishna lekam and pei aleph. He says mekomakim im hoyu ilanis natum yoisim David spofis. But if he cramped them up, he says then emanitkim shemach imam sham kaka. Then he doesn't get. We don't accept that he got the kaka with it. And the reason is lafishaknos kaka netzachs leilanis yachim imanim is because shakol neshav sada ilan. V'zeh einay ela beilanis hanetum ba'ivin sharuyim leskan. This is not called a Sada Ilan. This is a nursery. It's not a Sada Ilan. Only when do you get the kaka out of Sada Ilan if it's planted the way a Sada Ilan is supposed to be. Okay, we'll stop over here.